Welcome to the 11:15 a.m. briefing. I've been doing a 11 a.m. or so Eastern time briefing every day about what's going on in our court systems and about the Trump administration that you need to know about. And once a week, I've got Adam Klasfeld from All Rise News, who's here joining me as a co-leader here on Legal AF Substack and All Rise News Substack to talk about things that we can't talk about as quickly on YouTube. I mean, it takes us a while to get a video up on YouTube. Here, we get that immediacy. I've been doing a video at night too, around 9 or 10 o'clock at night, get a couple of thousand people into a huddle and let's just talk about it. And so, Adam, you've been catching some great news stories lately, including about Alina Habba, what's going on in New Jersey. We got a new filing with Lisa Cook. We got some developments on Abrego Garcia. Why don't you? We'll do a speed round and we'll let you pick them. What do you want to start off with for our audience?
Well, why don't we start with Lisa Cook? Because that just broke.
Yeah.
Everyone was anticipating that she would challenge her purported firing from the Federal Reserve. I mean, the lawsuit makes very clear that she does not believe she has in fact been fired because the firing is entirely unlawful. The lawsuit challenges her firing under the Federal Reserve Act, various different grounds. Long lawsuit that was just filed, and it just seems to, we're heading into Labor Day here, and I finished recently an interview with a union leader from the AFG it's an interview that will be published pretty soon for us for Legal AF, and just to put it in the kind of broad lens. Of course, Lisa Cook, it's a different story. It's not a union story, but it's a broader story of Trump thinking that the U.S. government is a reality show, and when he says you're fired, that's the end. And what we've seen is this broad pushback throughout the federal government and a pretty permissive, at least in the early stages, Supreme Court after the lower courts say, no, you can't do that. That's unlawful. That was what happened with the American Federation of Government Employees, representing a good percentage of the federal workforce. Trump just went in, said within his executive order, there go your union contracts and your collective bargaining rights. Federal judge said that is not how it works, and the Federal Appeals Court allowed him to move forward. And so 2 weeks before Labor Day, roughly, he went about firing at least 400,000, not firing, excuse me, canceling the union contracts of at least 400,000 federal government employees. And what that means in my conversation with Everett Kelly, the president of the AFGE, is less independence. It's a democracy issue that when the courts allow a very elastic definition of for cause, when the courts allow the president of the United States to purge government employees, what you get is less independence in those agencies. So these employment issues are very much a democracy issue, and these lawsuits are very much one to watch, especially with Federal Reserve independence. That was supposed to be the red line of the court.
Let's bring everybody up to speed on that, because I know sometimes you and I have a habit, and it's not a bad habit, it's just a habit from doing this so long, is we kind of come in the middle of a story and people are like, what are they even talking about right now? So first of all, thank you for joining us here on Legal AF Substack Live crossover episode with Adam Klasfeld of All Rise News, who's a regular contributor now on Legal AF. Take a minute. There's this little capsule up here that's got a scroll for Legal AF and Adam. You click it, you'll find out whether you did subscribe or not. It's free for either of our two Substacks. And if you do subscribe, it's a great thing, because this video, which will go on for 15 or 20 minutes, if you came in late, you'll know what we talked about because you'll get a copy of that video. You'll be able to have access to the full video once we're done and it is loaded. So thank you for joining us, the 517 that have come together right now. So Lisa Cook is one of 7 members of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. We're all going to learn more about the Federal Reserve than maybe we care to ever know. We always say the Legal AF is like a TED Talk meets a law school class, all kind of smushed together. And so the 7 members of the Board of Governors have staggering 12-year terms. Hers is the longest in the sense that she was just put on by Biden. So her term doesn't end until 2038. And every 2 years, somebody rolls off with their respective 12-year term. That's why Jay Powell will roll off not in 2026, as that'll be for his chairmanship. He rolls off in 2028. Donald Trump has gotten a little bit of a taste of blood here when it comes to the Federal Reserve, mainly because, and this is my working theory, one of the Biden appointees threw in the towel recently, Kugler, and said basically, no mas, I've had enough. And I think that gate, which is unusual, I don't blame her, although I celebrate people like Lisa Cook who are fighting for democracy, fighting for the independence of the Federal Reserve to protect our economy. But Kugler had her own reasons, and she said, I'm out. And Trump said, oh, I get another seat, and figured out that now instead of being out of the 7 members of the Board of Governors, instead of being 5-2, it suddenly became 4-3. He was still in the minority, but it got a lot closer. So now he's like, well, let me lean on Jay Powell. Too late, Powell, the chairman. He's not going anywhere. He's stronger. He's more courageous than Donald Trump will ever be, and he's not going anywhere. So then they started pick who's the weak person on there that we can go after. Oh, somebody took out a recent mortgage. Oh, let's go after Lisa Cook. Maybe she checked the wrong box on her mortgage application, and that'll make her lose her job. So right on cue, Bill Pulte, who's this Nepo baby who runs the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which is supposed to be about mortgage liquidity in the market. He's not the mortgage fraud investigator or the inspector general, but he's Donald Trump's bootlicker. And so he prides himself on being a little mini Trump and wants to run for office one day. He's a philanthropist,
Mhm.
allegedly inheriting tons of money from his building family, the construction family in the Southeast. So he starts going after all it's all Democrats, as if Republicans have never cheated on their taxes and never checked the wrong box in a mortgage application. It's only Letitia James, New York Attorney General, Adam Schiff, Senator, California, Lisa Cook, Federal Board of Governors, and whoever else he can get his hands on. So it's all this orchestrated, pitch and catch. Like he writes the whistleblower letter because Trump tells him to. It goes to goes to Pam Bondi, who opens up an investigation, and then Trump points to the investigation as the grounds to get rid of her and fire her and claim that he has the for-cause reason to do it, which is required by the United States Supreme Court. And right on cue, because you and I did reporting on Lisa Cook's lawyer, Abby Lowell, coming forward and saying, she's not going anywhere. We're filing our suit. Now we got the suit. It's been assigned to Judge Cobb, Gia Cobb, who's a Biden appointee, who's very, very good, and it'll be a great judge for this particular case. It's going to go on a fast track, right? Because there's meetings coming up, Adam, and the Federal Reserve has taken a position about her position. Why don't you catch everybody up on that?
Absolutely. So it says immediate, and I'm reading a lawsuit right now.
Yeah.
Governor Cook seeks immediate declaratory and injunctive relief to confirm her status as a member of the Board of Governors, safeguard her and the board's congressionally mandated independence, and allow Governor Cook and the Federal Reserve to continue its critical work. So usually and we'll see if there's an accompanying motion for a temporary restraining order, but we've seen these lawsuits funnel through the District of D.C. very, very quickly, sometimes the same day. As everyone remembers, early this year on March 15th, there was that lawsuit trying to stop the flights of hundreds of men to El Salvador. The courts can snap to
Yeah.
attention very quickly, or we can go more recent. Kilmar Abrego
Monday.
Garcia's, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia's lawsuit. So I think that there could be very quick speed here, even with the Labor Day weekend coming. The courts, they get things done, when it's on an urgent basis. I've seen them work through holidays. I've seen them. So this can happen very quickly. And to the broader point, about what you were saying about the pretext for Governor Cook, the mortgage fraud, how Bill Pulte, that they're he's naming Letitia James, Adam Schiff, Lisa Cook. What one interesting facet here, Trump made no secret, one, that of his plans to target all three of these people, but the Federal Reserve in particular, he wants to, he wants to set inflation rates. He wants to set he didn't like the jobs report. Obviously, that's a different agency.
Yeah.
Then fire the person creating the jobs report. The economy is not going well because of his policies, and he wants to get his hands on that. So this can happen very quickly. It's a very important battle because even the Supreme Court said the Federal Reserve is different. So will this claim of for cause over this mortgage issue be enough? It's a very critical question about an independent Federal
Look,
Reserve, and so we'll see if it happens.
sorry to interrupt. Every president or dictator that's gotten control of their central bank abroad and even here, the example being Nixon, it's only led to one thing: hyperinflation. Because this is the reason we don't want a president to control his fiscal policy, which he's allowed to control, which is his actual economic policies, and control monetary policies. Pardon me, let me try it again. We don't want him to control his fiscal policies, which are his economic policies, and get his hands on the spigot or the fire hose of money by lowering interest rates in order to benefit his policies. Let the economy be damned. Because what will happen with that is when you pump too much cash, we saw this during COVID, when you put $3 trillion of a COVID stimulus package through the economy in sort of a chunky fashion, things are going to happen like a point or two up on inflation because there's so much cash, so much spending going on. This is one of the things that lead to inflation. So when you have failed economic policies, as Adam, you pointed out, the way to wallpaper over that for the short term, because you are a short termer, especially when you're a lame duck president like Donald Trump, is you want to get your hands on the spigot and let cheap money come flying out. Federal Reserve has to be more reserved and say, that's not the right thing to do. We're trying to balance jobs with inflation and try to find that right midsection. And Trump doesn't care about that. You heard him in his press conferences and his cabinet meeting just in the last day or so. We need to cut those rates a couple of points to help the housing market. Which, by the way, already the mortgage rates have gone down in the housing market because banks realize they need to make more mortgages in order to make more profit, and they on their own lowered the interest rates. So it's not always the blunt force trauma of Donald Trump trying to do something. But this goes beyond Lisa Cook. And I think it's interesting. If you read and I'll put it up on Legal AF Substack also, the actual filing, if you read it, she doesn't necessarily come out and deny that she checked the wrong box on her mortgage application. She doesn't feel she has to defend herself on how she took out her couple of mortgages on two different properties and get into the weeds about that. She's effectively saying, even if I checked the wrong box, this is not what is required under the Supreme Court precedent dating back to 1935 about the type of misconduct or for cause to get me fired from my 12-year position on the Federal Reserve. So I think it's now, of course, MAGA will leap on that. She doesn't even deny
Well,
that she committed mortgage fraud.
one thing she does characterize it as unsubstantiated.
That's true.
So
That's true.
there is it's not leaving it, but she does make the argument that even if it were
Yeah.
that it doesn't matter.
I guess my point was she doesn't come out with affirmative evidence, nor does she have
Right.
to in her
Right.
complaint, like a screenshot of, I didn't check the wrong box, or there's a reason. that I checked
Right.
primary resident. So I guess that's what I meant. She wasn't affirmatively defending
Absolutely.
herself, but she doesn't have an obligation to do that either.
Right. And why would she do that if this administration is quite serious about, about pursuing her? Keep her defense in her back pocket, right? I mean,
Yeah,
she wouldn't float that in a public document so quickly.
I agree. And I think what we're watching, and thank you for the 810 people from our overlapping audiences that have joined. It's remarkable after these videos how many people realize they haven't subscribed because we pick up. I just did one with Katie Fang, and like 250 people subscribed to Legal AF. I assume from Katie's side, but or from our side, they just get the videos, but they don't think to subscribe. But that's how you help Adam, All Rise News, pay the bills, keep him on the air, doing his full-time work. Same thing with Legal AF. It's that scroll there at the top. Hit that. You'll figure out whether you're subscribed or not. If you're not, hit it. That'll also give you access to this video, which started about 15 minutes ago, which you wouldn't have if you're not a subscriber. And then if you want to help, get Adam on flights and get him into rooms in the courtrooms so he can report and all the things we do with the contributors on Legal AF, think about becoming a paid member as well. So that's our little plug there for what we're doing. My other working theory is that the reason the Federal Reserve is standing up for her and saying, look, we're not going to allow this is my translation. We're not going to allow a social media post by Bill Pulte, a mean tweet, to take out a board of governor, from a 12-year seat. Even if that mean tweet gets converted into Donald Trump pounding on a table during a cabinet meeting or getting interviewed, social media posts are not going to do it. Sure, there was a letter that Bill Pulte wrote, which I assume has been or will be released, that accuses her of something. But just as Donald Trump argued in his insurrectionist case, the Colorado case, about being taken off the ballot, that it wasn't self-actuating, an accusation that he was a insurrectionist, even though we all saw it, was not enough to take him off the ballot, that there had to be a judge making a determination, which did happen in Colorado. After a hearing, a Colorado judge says, yeah, you're an insurrectionist. I'm taking you off the ballot. Now, that went to the United States Supreme Court. And right before the immunity decision, they helped out Donald Trump and said, yeah, we're not going to let states take federal president candidates off the ballot because they're insurrectionists. If they want to take insurrectionists off of state, who are running for state office off the ballot, go ahead. But we're not going to let you do it for feds, that's what happened there. But same thing for Lisa Cook. There has to be a court process, I would offer, not just in order to have substantiated findings of for cause. It's not enough just to write a mean letter. Even if it's a PowerPoint attached to it, you got to have somebody adjudicating this. Don't you think, Adam?
Right. Well, I mean, I think we're going to see those proceedings, at least in this case, soon. Not necessarily an evidentiary hearing. Who knows if it even gets to it? As she says, it's just not enough for cause. So we may see legal arguments. If I can sort of pivot
Sure.
to a lightning round, because we
Yeah,
have at least, I think, just 2 minutes left before I have
yeah.
to head out. There's just so much to cover. There's some of the other topics that you mentioned at the beginning. There have been some very prominent no bills. Grand juries have refused to indict in multiple cases brought by U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro. And right now we also have Kilmar Abrigo Garcia. Has initiated his asylum proceedings, and a federal judge has determined that he cannot be removed until that is adjudicated. So he is here, in a immigration detention in Virginia through early August. Excuse me, I meant October.
October. Yeah, yeah,
Early October. So those are some of the other two
yeah.
topics that you mentioned as we launched this video.
Well, let me, and then Adam, you leave when you got to leave. We know you have another recording, and we started this a couple of minutes
Yes.
late. I'll stay on with our audiences and encourage them to be part of our community. The reason Janine Pirro is running into a brick wall, thank God, is two reasons. One, she's the District of Columbia attorney, U.S. attorney, And so the grand juries are being picked from that population. And I got to tell you that that population in D.C., which tends to be more black and brown than in other places, is not happy with the occupation of their city by federal forces. Even though the mayor says, hey, we're doing great on carjacking now. I mean, she's just trying to like keep Trump off her ass, which I totally understand. But a grand jury of 20 or 21 people being faced with this guy threw a sandwich. I'm not making this up, folks.
Right.
Threw a sandwich at a National Guards person. It could have been a grenade, but it wasn't. It was a ham sandwich. And that's not enough for a grand jury, especially one that I would say has a pretty jaundiced view of what Trump is doing right now in their city. So she's not in a red state with a red state a MAGA grand jury. She's like in in DC. And so it's no shock. They're also getting major pushback because they're putting National Guards people in an impossible position where they don't understand how to do local law enforcement. They don't understand civil liberties and the role of the police, and they're abusing people. And federal judges are like, you can't search. You don't understand basic search warrant law. See, you may have just because they're federalized but if they're doing domestic law enforcement, they got to follow all the Supreme Court precedent about Fifth Amendment rights, equal protection, and all the rights that come out of criminal law. And they're not because they're not trained to do this. So we're going to be seeing judges over and over and over again saying, you just screwed up and violated their constitutional rights.
And we've seen in the District of New Jersey criminal cases snarl to a halt because Alina Habba has been ruled illegitimately acting in the U.S. Attorney post since July. And so I'll sign off on this because I actually have to head out. But I was speaking yesterday to Andrew Weissman about the grand jury situation. And the way we ended our chat, it's on All Rise News right now, but the way we ended our chat, we talked about how it's just more evidence of the checks and balances in our system that a grand jury told the government no, told the
Yeah.
government no twice. And it's so rare because of the composition of the grand jury and the way a grand jury system operates. There's not a defense attorney in the room. The government has every opportunity to walk through the presentation of the evidence and doesn't need to show any exculpatory evidence. And still, people everyday people said no and stopped two felony indictments from moving ahead. And on that note, I should sign
Yeah.
off now. Always a pleasure.
You too. We'll do it again very soon and do our video duets over on Legal AF YouTube channel. Adam Klasfeld, of course, pardon me, All Rise News. Follow him everywhere and support his work. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Michael.
I'll stay on for a couple more minutes. Thank you. Michael Popok here. I'm still getting over that cold. I'm sorry. So I'm a little winded sometimes. But you see that button up there for Legal AF. Take a moment and consider becoming a regular member. And then if you can swing at a paid member, that's what we do here. Keeps the lights on. So we've got the developments with Lisa Cook having filed her suit to stay in the Federal Reserve. It matters who's in the Federal Reserve, who's on the Board of Governors. It matters to keep Donald Trump's grubby hands off of the Federal Reserve and its independence, because our stable and sound economy depends on an independent Federal Reserve, not Donald Trump trying to take control of it. The last time a president tried to take control of the Federal Reserve and was basically successful was our last criminal president, Richard Nixon. He put so much pressure on the Fed chair that they basically gave up and gave Nixon whatever he wanted. And what he got, which was low interest rates, led to super hyperinflation. I'm talking 10, 11, 12 points percent. You think food prices are terrible now. Wait till you see what happens when Donald Trump gets control of the Federal Reserve. That's why the suit by Lisa Cook is so important. As is all the other data points about the resistance against the Trump administration. Abrego Garcia and his lawyers looking for asylum here in the United States to be granted to him, and also to have it granted to him by a federal judge as a remedy to right the wrong of the abuse that's been heaped on Abrego Garcia by the Trump administration. Grand juries are resisting in their way, especially ones in Democratic cities, If you're going to occupy a Democratic city and you're going to have a prosecution related to an arrest that you made during the occupation, the grand jury is going to look a lot like the people of that city, demographically, racially, ethnically, and the rest. And so good luck in Chicago when you take it over and you start making arrests, getting those indictments. Good luck in Philadelphia. Good luck in New York. Good luck in LA. Good luck, as we've just seen, in the District of Columbia. So these are the firewalls that protect our democracy that we're talking about. And the reason we're talking about it is there's so much to be said about, with the moral authority and the moral justification. And that's what we always talk about. If we can rip the morality out from under Donald Trump and public support out from under Donald Trump, we're that much closer to getting him out of power or making him the lame duck president that he is. When we empower him by letting him get away with it, by not resisting, by not talking about it, then we embolden him to do more, and we empower him by our failure to oppose. That's why we got to do it. So we got to do it here as a community. We got to do it in the courts. We got to hope the grand juries hold steady. We got to have people like Lisa Cook who don't throw in the towel, like Governor Kugler for the Biden administration, who just said, "Oh, I don't want to deal with this in the Federal Reserve." No, we need people like Jay Powell and Lisa Cook to say, "No, I am going to stand. Who's with me?" And I know who's with them, us here on Legal AF. And so we're going to continue to report. It's been a epic losing streak again for Donald Trump in the last 2 weeks in federal courts. And you got a federal court right now in New Jersey. They just filed a joint paper in the Alina Habba appeal, where Alina Habba got declared to be an unlawfully appointed U.S. attorney by Donald Trump. There's at least 12 different cases going on in New Jersey in the federal courts that have ground to a halt because of her refusing to get out of that office. I mean, it's just chaos. Even the Trump administration in a filing had to admit it. That there's sentencings that are not happening, trials that are not happening, all because Alina Habba won't take no for an answer, and Trump won't either. So you got that chaos with a judge who had the courage to do the right thing and adjudge her to be unlawful. At the same time, a judge in Virginia stopped Donald Trump from trying to attack all 12 of the federal judges in Maryland. Judge Cullen came out and said, and he's a Trump appointee, he said, you can't disqualify all the judges in Maryland because you don't like their standing order about when you can remove and deport people during a habeas corpus petition process. That's ludicrous. But we got to count on these judges to do the right thing. We know there's a fair amount of federal judges and the Supreme Court that will bend over backwards and into a pretzel to help Donald Trump when he wants to fire people, defund things, get rid of foreign aid, impound money, stop, not execute the laws faithfully that the Congress has set, steal their money, Congress's allocated money. We know that we don't have any help at the Supreme Court on those types of things with this administration. But most of the decision-making, 99% of it happens at the lower court level, never gets to the United States Supreme Court. Donald Trump doesn't take every case on appeal. He folds. We cover when he folds. We cover when he doesn't appeal. We cover when billions of dollars get reversed and sent back to states and for education because of the work that's being done by lawyers, the ACLU, Democracy Forward, Democracy Now!, the NAACP, the 23 Democratic attorneys general. That's why there's 400 lawsuits against the Trump administration right now. Of all of his executive orders that he has issued since day one, only 27% of them, a little more than a quarter, are currently not subject to challenge or been blocked. That's all he's been able to get through. So he's been trying to flood the zone. He's been trying to issue hundreds and hundreds of executive orders he knows will never pass muster hoping that it's like a hockey game. Keeps firing on the goalie, hoping that, he'll fire on it 40 times. If he can get 3 in, it's the right 3, he's happy. So what can we do? What we're doing. We got to unite. We got to come together on a daily basis to have the information, to have the truth. That's why I bring on Adam Klasfeld from All Rise News and onboarded him onto Legal AF as a regular contributor. That's why I do twice a day live updates for that immediacy, for that at the moment, at the market feeling of getting together 1,000 people on last minute notice to huddle and talk about these issues and give you the data that you need, the information you need to go out there and understand what's happening. So we do it here. I do we have 10 videos on Legal AF YouTube channel, free there. Come over and free subscribe. Get your reminders. We have podcasts over there you might be interested in. But here there's like a sizzle. There's an energy. There's a chispa that I can't replicate on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. But it's a collaboration. It's a companion of being able to say, hey, 11 o'clock, let's get 2,000 people together. Hey, let's bring Katie Fang on, or let's bring on Adam Klasfeld, or Michael Cohen likes to come on, or Adam Parkamenko, or Brett Meiselas, who's about to have a baby with his wife, try to get him on to talk to our audience. And then I'll be at like 10 o'clock at night, like so much just happened that I want to update our audience. Will people join? And you have, and I really do appreciate that. So for the 1,100 people that have joined, last chance, hit that Legal AF subscribe button. You'll know right away whether you subscribe because it'll tell you whether you have or not. If you're a regular subscriber, you'll be able to take this video. We started it at about 11:15 or so. You'll be able to have access to the video if you join late to know what we talked about, updated you with Adam Klasfeld. And if you can become a paid member, consider that as well. That's really the way that we're fueling what we're doing here in our resistance against the Trump administration. So until our next report, I'm Michael Popok. Thanks for being here and taking time out of your day to join us on the Legal AF Substack.